The Beast Must Die! Beast Must Die. So this is a release from Severin Films. I remember watching this years ago and being super disappointed. I gave it a 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and that was after even years before that seeing it on like TV at some point. And I was never that impressed. This was a latter-day Amicus production. This is one of their last productions, in fact. I think it's their actual last production. And there's something about this movie that just never worked for me. So I bought this mostly because I wanted to see if my opinion would be changed. Was it? Let's find out.
Here in this room is a werewolf.
The film stars Calvin Lockhart as a rich big game hunter who is obsessed with finding and killing a werewolf, which he has deduced is one of several acquaintances whom he has invited to his tricked out estate. Actually, let's read the description on the Blu-ray, shall we?
Tight, yeah!
Severin Films. All right, let's see. The final horror film from Amicus, upgraded and uncut. Cool. This film that's well known for its extensive gore scenes, uncut. In the swan song horror production from the studio that dripped blood, Peter Cushing, Calvin Lockhart, Charles Gray, Anton Diffring, and Marlene Clark star in a 70s whodunit like no other. An eccentric millionaire has invited a group of 8 colleagues to his island estate to hunt the deadliest game of all. One of the guests is a werewolf and will be stalked and slaughtered for sport. But who is the lycanthrope? And do they have a shocking plan of their own? Michael Gambon co-stars in this fast-moving and enormously entertaining shocker from director Paul Annette, featuring cinematography from Oscar winner Jack Hildyard, and now fully restored, including the infamous werewolf break from a brand new 4K scan. Man, that makes it sound really exciting, doesn't it? Look, it was shot by the guy who shot The Bridge on the River Kwai. I don't know why I said river so weird. And the transfer, which is excellent, does highlight that fact. So it is much less bland than I remember, minus the scenes where it fails miserably to shoot day for night or properly light black skin. Other than those, looks pretty good. It's a solid, not staggering, but solid transfer. It's not bad. It shows some wear and tear here and there, but overall, it is a very good scan of the film. But as I said, the filmmakers struggle quite a bit with a lot of technical issues. Obviously, as I said, the night scenes are often day for night, and they are not done well. And more importantly, they're not done well while also compounding the fact with just the complete, just almost impressive inability to shoot Calvin Lockhart. When they're in the interiors, it's fine. He looks great. But the exterior shots often look real bad. The problem is it's not that hard to shoot black actors, and I mean, like dark-skinned black actors at night, because you have a bit more control if you're using, big HMIs and what have you. You can definitely get the shot and get it well. Obviously, harder on film back in the day, but still, it's very possible. Day for night is a whole other beast. Day for night is tough. I feel like I rarely have ever seen good day for night with black actors. It's just, it's a different way of doing cinematography, and they don't do a good job here. They just don't. That's not the worst thing in the world, and it's far from the film's biggest problem, but it is something that I always think about when I think of this film, is just how much they really didn't get that right. The other big issue is the werewolf. The werewolf is it's a dog. It's a dog with a turtleneck on, and he's cuter. He's more cute than he is vicious. It's not a good werewolf. And, for a werewolf movie to work, you need a few different things. One is a good story, which we'll get to that. and the other is a pretty good werewolf. You know, the worse your werewolf, the more it's going to damage your film. A lot of werewolf films get past this by just not showing a lot of the wolf, which is fine. You can do that, but when you finally see it, especially if you're building up to it a lot, you need something there. And I don't quite understand why they couldn't have done something similar to Curse of the Werewolf, or Curse of the Wolfman? Curse of the Werewolf. Curse of the Wolfman. The Oliver Reed one, where, you know, they have a reasonably good bit of makeup. It wouldn't have been that expensive to just do one, like, you know, bring the amount of werewolf on screen down and just get like one or two really solid scenes where we see the actor in makeup. It just seems like something that needed to be done. I recognize Amicus was not doing great at this point, but come on. If they could do it in 1941, you can do it in the 1970s. Come on. Now, if you can get past the puppy in a sweater that they're making you just take as the werewolf, the chase scene with the werewolf is pretty fun. There's some okay action with Calvin Lockhart. Helicopter that blows up when it's burning. You see like pieces of it melting, and that's pretty rad. Some of the gore is pretty quality. There's not a lot of it, but when it does come up, there are a couple shots that I remember relatively fondly as being pretty dope. But nothing, like, it's not that extensive, and I think a big part of that is this was very much meant to be an Agatha Christie style murder mystery type thing, except instead of a murder, it's a werewolf, which in turn creates murders. And man, I don't know. It doesn't work very well as a mystery. Calvin Lockhart is not very good as the lead. And look, King Willie looks fly as hell, but his performance is odd.
And what about our little lady friend who's so anxious to get out of here? Maybe she has reasons we don't know about. Care to show us, Davina?
At times it works, but mostly it comes off stiff and one note. He's an unhinged asshole, and I don't know, like he just has this weird, very upper crust way of speaking that doesn't. It's not that it doesn't fit the character per se, it's that it never changes. It's always kind of the same. It's very one note, very overly dramatic, very stagey, and that didn't work for me at all. So you have this guy who's supposed to tie the whole film together, who just doesn't work. And, you know, he was cast because it was the whole blaxploitation thing was going on at the time, and they thought they could make more money by hiring Calvin Lockhart. And, you know, he's a stately figure. He's really tall. Like, he looks cool. I just don't think he was right for the part. And I kind of wish they'd gone with their original choice, but they didn't, because they wanted to make some money. And that's too bad, because it does negatively impact the film quite a bit. Beyond that, we do get a solid cast of characters. Charles Gray basically plays Charles Gray. Peter Cushing puts on a silly accent. Of course, Michael Gambon is here to be Michael Gambon. Or Gambon? Whatever. In the end, what we have here is a pretty okay mystery flick, but a kind of terrible werewolf movie. The titular beast looks like garbage, our lead is a fun character hampered by a middling, albeit at times campy performance, and our selection of potential werewolves is enjoyable enough, but also not terribly exciting. There's not a lot of, fun guesswork at play. They all, any of them could be the werewolf, but does it really matter? Not really. Oh, and who's the werewolf gimmick? So the director of this film, Paul Annette, he was forced, I don't even know, he didn't even do it. His cut was taken and edited in was a werewolf break, which is a very campy William Castle-esque concept that does not work for this movie at all. This movie is very dry, and to have this werewolf break, just it calls even more attention to how kind of bland the whole film is. And the characters, they just aren't explored deeply enough to make the werewolf break worthwhile. Like, once it gets to that, who's the werewolf? Who gives a shit? No, it doesn't matter. No, just tell me who the fucking werewolf is, and let's move along. Maybe we'll get a cool sequence out of it. We don't, but maybe we will. Who knows? I will say that when the werewolf is, I don't want to spoil things. When the werewolf is initially revealed, there's a really cool shot. It's not like any kind of brilliant cinematography or anything, but just the reveal of it is kind of is nice. I liked that reveal. It's not an inept film. Like, Paul Annette is a perfectly good director. It's just, as a whole, like, this feels like a movie that could have been great if it had just been given a few more resources. But it wasn't, and so it's not. And then once the twist is actually revealed, like the big twist, you just kind of react like, oh, okay.
You know, you have taken complete leave of your senses.
As far as special features go, we get an archival audio commentary from the old Amicus collection DVD with director Paul Annette and moderated by filmmaker Jonathan Southcott. Unsurprisingly, it's pretty dry. I mean, it's very British, but informative. Paul Annette is plenty likable. He does mention that he was going for a horror Agatha Christie, which, yeah. Which, as I mentioned previously, that explains a lot. Let's see, we get an 18-minute video essay by Troy Howarth. He digs really deeply into the aforementioned Agatha Christie connection, and actually the first few minutes feel like we're listening to an essay on like the history of And Then There Were None, rather than The Beast Must Die, which he gets into after about 10 minutes in. I really like this essay since it concerns the history surrounding the film, which in my opinion is far more interesting and entertaining than the film itself. Coming in at just a hair under 13 minutes is an archival interview with Paul Annette, and then we also get 2 audio interviews with Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg. The latter is the longest at 47 minutes versus Subotsky, who his is just like 6 minutes long, but it's also much more inferior audio. The audio sucks. So, on the one hand, 47 minutes. On the other hand, it's a bit of a chore to listen to. And then beyond that, we get the original theatrical trailer with commentary by Kim Newman and David Flint. So that's the release. I can only be pleased that the slipcover is just tight enough to make me not really care about watching it again. Pop, pop, pop. It's The Beast Must Die. It's just not a very good film. It's not bad. It's not great. It's middling. It's very middling. I gave it half a star extra on Letterboxd when I rewatched it because it is better than I remember, but that's not really saying a lot. I know it has fans, but for me, it'll always be the film with the great idea that just didn't have enough resources from its studio. And that's it. Thanks for watching. I hate talking shit about movies, but I didn't like this one. Check me out on Patreon and go buy some merch. And you know what? Maybe not this one, but go watch a movie.